Greetings, YouTube! Whoever said there was no such thing as a free lunch apparently never heard of Fiddleheads. So, I keep these things on my property just to give me a barometer of when the Fiddlehead season is ready to start. These are Ostrich Ferns. The very young ones, they come up rather quickly, but slightly more mature ones are a little bit slower to develop, and these are the Fiddleheads here. Called that way, I guess, because they resemble the head of a fiddle. Here's a more mature one over here. And this is how you can easily identify the Ostrich Fern. It has a kind of a woody looking cluster on the ground that it grows out of. And you can see two nice little Fiddleheads there. And this here is what identifies it as the Ostrich Fern. It's dark brown or black spore frond, whereas these fronds down here are sterile. Those are the ones you want to eat. So, let us venture forth into the wilderness to partake of nature's bounty. Intro of darkness, then whiteness, then greenness. Well, here's the creature in question. Here are some more Ostrich Ferns. And, well, pick them. Some people use a knife, but you can just snap it off right at the base. Another way to identify it as an Ostrich Fern is on the inside. You'll see it's kind of got a groove there. And that papery stuff that was on there, you can just peel that off. So we'll pick the rest of these. Now some people just pick the curly heads, but you can actually eat the stalks too, and they're quite tasty. There's a couple remaining there. I'm going to leave them because I don't want to kill the thing. But it's not like they're rare. Just over here, there's some more. And if I look over here, there's another one. They're all around me. See, I wasn't kidding when I said these things are everywhere. Unlike wild garlics, which are going increasingly rare in this area because of all the Quebecers that like to come in and just devastate the crops. Once again, here's the big stalk identifying this as an ostrich fern. And there are the sterile fronds. So, I'm not even in the bush yet. That's the bush. And pretty much all the green vegetation you can see on the ground off in the distance there, those are... I was not kidding when I said these are abundant. They're absolutely everywhere in this bush. More than you could possibly ever want to eat. These fiddleheads are great in small quantities, but they are mildly toxic, especially if you don't cook them. So you don't want to eat a ton. Especially certain species you do not want to eat. But as far as I can see, every single one of these ferns is an ostrich fern. Now there's a real nice patch of big ones right here. These puppies are everywhere. I thought I'd have to spend a couple hours trying to look for these things to find enough to get a few decent meals out of them, but I was wrong. They're plentiful. Okay, here's a fern you do not want to eat. In fact, I don't even know what this one is called. It's not lady fern. It's not, what do they call them? Bracken ferns. It's not cinnamon fern. It is unknown. So I'm not going to eat it. Well, it's a good thing I came when I did, because this is the stage you want them at. And you want to pick them when they're between 8 inches to a foot tall. Well, 8 inches would be about here. So it's a good thing I came when I did. Because the harvesting season for these things is so incredibly short, you would not believe it. Give these things like a day, maybe 2 days, and they'll be full-fledged ferns. They won't be edible anymore. Do not eat ferns. You can eat. Oh, here's a particularly well-established one. So you can see it's developing a little bit slower than some of the smaller ones. It seems the younger they are, the faster they grow. When they're old, you'll see they have this kind of woody base on them. And the fronds themselves will be quite a bit thicker, and they take longer to grow. So you can harvest these a little bit later in the season. Like a day later. So, again, I want to stress that this is the fern we want. The ostrich fern. It's got that U shape that I showed you. And it's got some sterile fronds. They're not always present. But the very dark frond you see there is full of spores. And here is a variety that is not edible. I think you can notice but the little black hairs it's got. Come on, focus you. I zoom out and get in closer. You'll see it has a whole bunch of hairs, little black specks on the stems. You don't want to eat that because I think this would be known as interrupted fern, as opposed to ostrich fern, which is Mateusia strathopteris. The cinnamon fern, or interrupted fern, is known as Osmundastrum cinnamonium, and it can cause nausea, dizziness, headache, and potentially vomiting. Not too fun. There's also another one called bracken fern, which doesn't seem to grow around here. I haven't seen any. But you don't want to eat it raw because it will give you stomach cancer. But yeah, the ostrich fern, perfectly safe. Oh, here's something. I live in Ontario, and here in Ontario, our provincial flower is the Trillium. And here it is. It's a nice purple one. They range from white to red to purple. The white ones are the most common. And being my provincial flower, if I were to pick this, I could get like a $500 fine. So we're gonna leave it alone. Here's another fine example of the difference between the ostrich fern, seen right here, and right behind it, there's an interrupted fern. You notice the leaves on the interrupted fern are very sparse. and of course the black hairs. You don't want to eat that. You want to eat the ostrich. Mmm. And here's another pretty little Trillium. Man, I wish I could dig these up and plant them in my flower garden, but unfortunately, that too will get you a hefty fine. So I'll have to settle for looking at its prettiness here. Oh, there's some other little flowers. But anyway, I think I've collected enough fiddleheads for now. That'll last me a few days. Probably gonna give some to my co-workers. But, so we'll go back to my place and we'll figure out how to eat these things. Would you like knowledge on how to cook fiddlehead Smoky? Okay. Well, here's how it's done. We have a frying pan here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of butter and some garlic. And then toss in the old fiddleheads and give them a quick saute. And that's about it. You can also take the stems and put them in a salad. They're quite tasty. Well, thank you for watching, and peace.